What is true success? Is it wealth, status, or knowledge? Or is it something deeper, something that transforms our very way of being? Many seek wisdom in solitude, believing enlightenment is found in isolation. But the greatest lessons come not from books or quiet reflection alone, but from the shared experiences of those who have walked the path before us. This is the story of Koji, a young seeker who set out on a journey to uncover the truth behind success, patience, trust, and transformation. Along the way, he learned 6 powerful lessons, each one revealed through the wisdom of others. Visual transitions to an open road, symbolizing Koji's journey. Lesson 1: Success is a journey, not a destination. Koji learns that true achievement is not a final goal, but the wisdom and growth we gain along the way. Lesson 2: Overcoming doubt, fear and uncertainty can cloud our vision, but self-trust is the key to unlocking our true potential. Lesson 3: The power of patience. Just as a tree takes time to bear fruit, true mastery and wisdom require trust in the process. Lesson 4: Letting go of attachment. When we cling too tightly to plans or outcomes, we limit ourselves. True success lies in adaptability and flow. Lesson 5: Learning from others. Wisdom is not found in isolation but in the shared experiences and teachings of those who came before us. Lesson 6: Inner transformation. In the end, success is not what we achieve, but who we become through the journey. Each of us walks our own path, but we do not walk it alone. Join us on this journey, and together, let us uncover the timeless wisdom that leads to true fulfillment. Many people chase after success, believing it to be a destination, a place where happiness, fulfillment, and recognition reside. But what if success is not a point to be reached, but a journey to be embraced? This is the story of Tenzin, a young man who embarked on a quest to achieve greatness, only to discover that success was not about arriving at a goal, but about the lessons and experiences along the way. Tenzin was a young man with a burning desire to achieve greatness. He grew up in a small village, dreaming of one day becoming a wise and renowned monk. He admired the great masters whose names were spoken with reverence and believed that success was measured by the recognition and wisdom one attained. One day, he approached his village's elder monk, Master Rinzin, and asked, "Master, how can I achieve true success?" Master Rinzin smiled gently and said, "If you wish to understand success, you must embark on a journey. Travel to the sacred mountain and seek wisdom from the monks who reside there. But take heed, your greatest lessons will not come from the mountain itself, but from the journey you take to reach it." Determined, Tenzin set off, believing that once he reached the sacred mountain, he would uncover the secret to success. The journey was long and treacherous. Tenzin crossed vast deserts, climbed steep hills, and walked through dense forests. Along the way, he encountered various challenges that tested his patience, endurance, and understanding. One day, he met an old man sitting beside a river, mending a broken fishing net. Seeing Tenzin's weary expression, the old man asked, "Where are you headed, young traveler?" "I seek the sacred mountain to learn the secret of success," Tenzin replied. The old man chuckled. "Ah, but success is not found in a single place. It is in each step of the journey." Tenzin, eager to move forward, dismissed the old man's words and continued walking. He believed that he would find his answer only at the sacred mountain, unaware that wisdom was already unfolding before him. As he neared the mountain, Tenzin encountered a struggling farmer trying to push a cart filled with heavy stones. Seeing the man's distress, he stopped to help. "Why carry so many stones?" Tenzin asked as he lifted one from the cart. "These stones represent my expectations," the farmer sighed. "I believed that the more I carried, the greater my reward would be. But now, I see that my burden only slows me down." Tenzin pondered the farmer's words. He, too, had been carrying the weight of expectations, believing that only when he reached the mountain would he find true success. But what if he had been ignoring the lessons along the way? With a new perspective, he continued his journey, more aware of each moment and less concerned with the destination. At last, after months of traveling, Tenzin reached the sacred mountain. He climbed its steep paths, arriving at the monastery where the great monks resided. His heart pounded with excitement. He had finally arrived. But when he entered the monastery, he was surprised to find no grand revelation waiting for him. Instead, the head monk, Master Kenpo, simply welcomed him with a bowl of tea and said, "You have traveled far. Tell me, what have you learned?" Tenzin hesitated. He had expected a great teaching, a sacred text, or a divine truth, but instead, he found himself reflecting on his journey. "I have learned," he began, "that success is not a single achievement but the lessons we gain along the way. I have met wise strangers, faced struggles, and let go of expectations. Every step was its own teaching." Master Kenpo nodded approvingly. "Then you have found your answer. Success is not a mountain to be conquered, but the path you walk. It is in the kindness you show, the patience you cultivate, and the wisdom you gain with each experience." Tenzin stayed at the monastery for some time, not to seek more knowledge, but to embrace the present moment. When he finally returned to his village, he was no longer the same man who had left. The villagers asked, "Did you find the secret to success?" Tenzin smiled and replied, "Success is not a treasure waiting to be found. It is the journey itself, the way we live, the way we learn, and the way we grow." From that day forward, he no longer sought success as an external goal. Instead, he lived each day with purpose, kindness, and mindfulness, knowing that the true measure of success lay in the journey, not the destination. Doubt is like a heavy mist. It clouds our vision, making even the clearest path seem uncertain. Many people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they lack belief in themselves. This is the story of Tenzin, a young monk who sought wisdom but was held back by the weight of doubt. Through his journey, he would learn that true clarity comes not from knowing all the answers, but from trusting the path. Tenzin had always been a devoted student, eager to learn and grow. From a young age, he had dreamed of becoming a great monk, one who would one day guide others toward enlightenment. But despite his dedication, there was one thing that held him back: self-doubt. Each time he sat for meditation, his mind whispered, "What if I am not good enough? What if I will never understand the teachings? What if I am not meant for this path?" The more he tried to silence these thoughts, the stronger they became. One day, his teacher, Master Rinzin, noticed Tenzin's troubled expression. "What burdens you, my student?" he asked. Tenzin lowered his head. "Master, no matter how much I study or meditate, I feel as though I am failing. I fear that I will never be wise enough to walk this path." Master Rinzin nodded. "Then it is time for you to take a journey. Travel to the mountain of reflection and seek the wisdom of the elder monk who resides there. Perhaps he will have the answers you seek." Though hesitant, Tenzin obeyed, setting off on a journey that would test not only his strength, but his faith in himself. As Tenzin journeyed, he came across a small village where he met an old archer, Master Haru. The archer was famous for his ability to strike a target without fail. Curious, Tenzin approached him and asked, "How do you shoot so perfectly every time?" Master Haru smiled and handed Tenzin a bow and arrow. "Try for yourself." Tenzin aimed at the target, but his hands trembled. "What if I miss?" he thought. When he released the arrow, it veered off course, landing far from the target. Master Haru chuckled. Again, he instructed. Tenzin tried once more, but doubt clouded his focus, and he missed again. The old archer placed a hand on Tenzin's shoulder. "You miss not because you lack skill, but because you do not trust yourself. The arrow follows your belief. If you hesitate, it wavers. If you doubt, it strays. But if you trust in the moment, it will find its way. Tenzin pondered these words. He had always thought success required knowledge alone. But now he saw that confidence was just as important. With a deep breath, he steadied his mind and let the arrow fly. This time, it struck the target. Master Haru nodded. Doubt is your first enemy. Conquer it, and your aim in life will become clear. With this lesson, Tenzin continued on his journey. Further along the path, Tenzin reached a rickety wooden bridge stretched over a deep canyon. An old woman stood at the edge, staring at the unstable planks. I must cross, she said, but I am afraid. What if the bridge collapses? Tenzin understood her fear, for he too hesitated. But then he remembered the archer's words, trust in the moment. He took a step forward, and the bridge held. Another step, and still it held. Slowly, he guided the woman across. Each step a reminder that fear only existed in the mind. When they reached the other side, the old woman smiled. Fear is a shadow, she said. When we walk toward it, it disappears. Tenzin realized that doubt worked the same way, it only had power if he let it stop him. He bowed to the woman and continued his journey with a lighter heart. At last, Tenzin reached the mountain of reflection. He climbed its steep paths and arrived at the temple where the elder monk resided. The elder monk welcomed him. Why have you come, young one? I seek wisdom, Tenzin said. I wish to rid myself of doubt. The elder monk led him to a still pond. Look at your reflection, he instructed. Tenzin gazed into the water. At first, he saw only his face, but as he continued to look, his doubts surfaced in his mind. What if I fail? What if I am not good enough? The elder monk tossed a pebble into the water, causing ripples to distort Tenzin's reflection. When your mind is troubled by doubt, the monk said, your vision is unclear, just like this water. But if you allow stillness, clarity will return. Tenzin watched as the ripples faded, and his reflection became clear again. So, the answer is to calm my mind? The elder monk smiled. Not only that. You must learn to trust yourself. The water does not question its ability to reflect the sky. The river does not doubt its course. Why, then, do you? Tenzin's heart swelled with understanding. Doubt had been his own creation, a veil over his true potential. He bowed deeply. Thank you, Master. As Tenzin made his way back to the monastery, he walked with renewed confidence. He no longer questioned his every step, he simply took them, trusting the path ahead. When he returned, Master Rinzin asked, did you find the wisdom you sought? Tenzin smiled. I found that doubt is only as strong as I allow it to be. The more I trust myself, the clearer my path becomes. From that day forward, Tenzin no longer let doubt control him. He embraced challenges with courage, knowing that belief in oneself was the key to true growth. And so, his story spread throughout the land, inspiring many to let go of their doubts and walk forward with confidence, trusting that their journey would lead them where they were meant to be. In a world where everything moves fast, people often forget the virtue of patience. Many seek immediate results, craving success without effort, fulfillment without waiting. But true growth, like the blooming of a lotus, takes time. This is the story of Tenzin, a young monk who struggled with impatience, until life itself became his greatest teacher. Tenzin had always been ambitious, eager to master the teachings of Buddhism. He meditated daily, studied the scriptures, and trained his body. Yet he often felt frustrated by his lack of progress. He longed to reach enlightenment quickly, believing that wisdom should come as fast as his efforts. One evening, he approached his teacher, Master Rinzin. Master, Tenzin said, I have devoted myself to learning, yet I still do not feel enlightened. Why is progress so slow? Master Rinzin smiled knowingly. Come with me. The master led Tenzin to the monastery garden, where a small bamboo sapling stood among fully grown trees. Tell me, Tenzin, the master asked, how tall do you think this bamboo will grow in 5 years? Tenzin thought for a moment and replied, surely it will be tall and strong. Master Rinzin nodded. And what if I told you that for the first 4 years, it will hardly grow at all? Tenzin frowned. Then how will it ever reach the sky? The master chuckled. Because in those years, it builds its roots deep into the earth. And only when it is ready, in the 5th year, does it suddenly shoot up to the heavens. Tenzin pondered this lesson, but impatience still lingered in his heart. To teach Tenzin patience, Master Rinzin gave him a simple task. Go to the temple courtyard and fill a jar with raindrops. Tenzin did as he was told, holding the jar beneath the sky, waiting for rain. Hours passed, but the sky remained clear. Frustrated, he returned to his master. Master, the sky does not obey my wishes. How can I fill the jar if there is no rain? Master Rinzin smiled. Ah, but nature does not rush. The rain will come when it is time. Tenzin sighed but returned to the courtyard, this time with a different mindset. He sat in silence, observing the clouds drifting slowly. The birds soaring effortlessly. Days later, when the rain finally arrived, he watched each drop fall into the jar, understanding that patience meant trusting the natural flow of life. Still, Tenzin struggled. Though he now understood patience in nature, he remained restless in his practice. Seeking further wisdom, he traveled to a nearby village, where he met an elderly potter named Hiro. Hiro was known for crafting the most exquisite ceramic bowls, each one shaped with meticulous care. Tenzin watched as the potter worked, but what caught his attention was how slowly Hiro moved. Molding the clay with gentle precision. Why do you not shape the bowl faster? Tenzin asked. Wouldn't you finish more bowls in less time? The potter chuckled. If I hurry, the clay will crack. The fire will break what has not been formed with care. To rush is to ruin. Tenzin saw the wisdom in Hiro's words. Just as the bamboo needed time to grow and the rain could not be forced, skill and wisdom needed patience to develop. Upon returning to the monastery, Tenzin was given one final lesson. Master Rinzin handed him a lotus bud. Make it bloom, he instructed. Tenzin carefully pulled at the petals, trying to force them open. But in doing so, he tore the delicate flower apart. Rinzin shook his head. You see, enlightenment, like this lotus, must unfold on its own. If you try to force it, you destroy its beauty. Realizing his mistake, Tenzin bowed deeply. He now understood that true wisdom could not be rushed. It was not about achieving a goal quickly, but about growing steadily, just like the bamboo, the raindrops, and the potter's clay. Years passed, and Tenzin changed. He no longer chased after quick success. Instead, he embraced each moment, allowing his knowledge and spirit to grow naturally. One day, a young monk came to him, frustrated. Master Tenzin, the student said, why does wisdom take so long to achieve? Tenzin smiled and led the student to the garden. He pointed at the tall bamboo, now towering over them. True strength comes from patience, he said. Just as this bamboo took years to grow its roots before rising, so too must you build your foundation before you can truly flourish. The student nodded in understanding. And so, Tenzin's story spread far and wide, teaching many that the greatest things in life, wisdom, success, and enlightenment, could only be achieved through patience, trust, and time. Attachment to specific outcomes or material possessions can limit our vision and hinder our ability to adapt. We often hold on to rigid expectations, believing they define success. But true wisdom lies in the ability to let go, to remain open to change, and to embrace the unknown. This is the story of Taro, a brilliant strategist who learned that true success comes not from controlling every detail, but from surrendering to the flow of life. Taro was known as the greatest military strategist of his time. He had never lost a battle, and his reputation stretched across the land. Kings and generals sought his counsel, trusting his ability to predict every move of the enemy. But despite his success, Taro was restless. He spent his nights refining battle plans, making calculations, and analyzing every possibility. He believed that as long as he could anticipate every move, he could maintain control over any situation. One day, a young commander approached him. "Master Taro," he said, "I have studied your strategies, yet I fear making mistakes in battle. How do I ensure victory?" Taro smiled and replied, "Victory belongs to those who control the field." But deep inside, he wondered, was control truly the key? Or was he merely clinging to an illusion? Taro's greatest test came when he faced an army unlike any he had encountered before. The enemy did not follow predictable tactics. They moved unpredictably, adapting to the terrain, changing their plans mid-battle, and never relying on a single strategy. Taro, confident in his mastery, stuck to his well-rehearsed plans. He refused to adjust, believing his calculations would eventually prevail. But for the first time in his life, he was wrong. His forces were outmaneuvered. His carefully constructed strategies collapsed. He suffered a crushing defeat. Humiliated, Taro retreated to a secluded monastery in the mountains, seeking answers. He could not understand how he had lost. "I was always one step ahead," he thought. "So why did I fail?" At the monastery, Taro met an old monk named Master Ryo. He asked, "Master, I was once the greatest strategist. I knew every possibility, yet I was defeated. Why?" Master Ryo led Taro to a river. The water flowed gently, adapting to the rocks and curves in its path. The monk took a handful of water and squeezed his fist tightly. "What happens when you hold too tightly?" Ryo asked. "The water escapes," Taro replied. Ryo then opened his hand, letting the water flow freely. "And what happens when you let go?" "It remains," Taro whispered. "The river does not force its way, it adapts. It does not resist obstacles, it flows around them. To win, you must be like the river, not the stone." Taro realized that his attachment to rigid strategies had been his downfall. He had tried to control the battle instead of adapting to its flow. Determined to understand, Taro stayed in the monastery and observed the monks. One evening, a fierce storm swept through the mountains. Taro watched as the strong oak trees struggled against the wind, their branches breaking under the pressure. Yet, the bamboo bent and swayed, unharmed. Master Ryo joined him and said, "The oak tree resists, believing its strength will protect it. But that is why it breaks. The bamboo does not resist, it bends, it flows, and because of this, it survives." Taro saw the truth in the monk's words. He had been the oak tree, stubborn and unwilling to change. If he had been like the bamboo, adapting to the conditions instead of forcing his will, he might not have lost. Months later, Taro returned to the battlefield, not as a strategist bound by rigid plans, but as a leader willing to embrace change. When another war broke out, he was called to lead. This time, instead of relying on fixed strategies, he allowed himself to adapt. He studied the environment, observed the enemy's movements, and adjusted his tactics in the moment. He became like the river, flowing with the battle. He became like the bamboo, bending but never breaking. His army triumphed, not because he had forced his way, but because he had let go of attachment to control. Years later, a young disciple came to Taro and asked, "Master, how do I become a great strategist like you?" Taro smiled and led him to the river. "Watch the water," he said. "What do you see?" "It flows freely," the disciple answered. "Then let that be your lesson," Taro said. "Victory does not belong to those who hold on too tightly, but to those who can let go and move with the changing currents of life." From that day on, Taro's name was not only remembered for his victories but for the wisdom he had gained. He had learned that true success comes not from control, but from the ability to adapt, to embrace uncertainty, and to let go of rigid expectations. And so, his story spread far and wide, reminding all who heard it that letting go is not weakness, it is the greatest strength of all. Wisdom is not found in isolation. It is passed down through the voices of those who have walked the path before us. Learning from others' experiences can illuminate our own journey, guiding us past obstacles we may not see. This is the story of Koji, a young seeker who set out to find wisdom but discovered that true knowledge is gathered not alone, but through the guidance of those who came before. Koji had spent years studying the sacred texts and practicing meditation, yet he felt something was missing. Though he had read about enlightenment, he had not yet experienced it. He was filled with doubts. Was he on the right path? Could he truly understand the teachings on his own? One day, he approached his master, an elderly monk named Jiro. "Master," Koji said, "I have read the scriptures and practiced diligently, but I still do not understand the true nature of wisdom. Where can I find the answers I seek?" Master Jiro smiled. "Then you must travel, Koji. Seek out those who have walked the path before you. Listen to their stories, learn from their experiences. Only then will you understand." With that, Koji bowed and set off on a journey that would change his life forever. Koji's journey led him to a small village where he met an old farmer named Haruto. The man was tending to his crops, his hands weathered from years of labor. "Wise farmer," Koji said, "I seek knowledge. Tell me, how do you cultivate patience?" Haruto chuckled and pointed to a young sapling. "This tree will bear fruit, but not today, nor tomorrow. If I dig it up every day to check its roots, will it grow?" Koji shook his head. "No, it would die." "Exactly," Haruto said. "Patience is trusting that growth happens, even when you cannot see it. Wisdom, too, must take root before it blossoms." Koji bowed in gratitude. He realized that he had been impatient in his learning, expecting immediate understanding when true wisdom required time to develop. Koji continued his journey and arrived at a forge, where a blacksmith named Daichi was shaping molten metal into a blade. "Master Blacksmith," Koji asked, "how do you turn such raw metal into a fine weapon?" Daichi wiped the sweat from his brow and replied, "Through fire and pressure. If I do not heat it enough, it remains weak. If I strike it too hard, it shatters. The balance between patience and effort is what makes the blade strong." Koji watched as Daichi carefully shaped the sword, realizing that his own mind was like the metal. If he was too rigid in his beliefs, he would break. But if he remained open to refinement, he would become stronger. As Koji traveled further, he encountered an aging general who had led many battles but was now living in peaceful retirement. He asked the general, "What is the key to victory?" The general smiled. "Victory is not found in force alone, but in wisdom. A great leader does not charge blindly, he listens to his advisors, learns from past battles, and adapts." Koji pondered this lesson. He had always believed that understanding would come from within. But now he saw that true wisdom was gathered from many voices, not just his own. Finally, Koji reached a distant monastery where a renowned Zen master lived. Bowing before him, Koji asked, "Master, I have traveled far, seeking wisdom from many teachers. Yet, I still feel as though I am searching. What have I done wrong?" The master poured Koji a cup of tea. As the cup filled, Koji noticed the master did not stop pouring, and soon the tea overflowed. "Master, the cup is full," Koji said. The Zen master smiled. "Like this cup, you have gathered much knowledge. But you must empty yourself to truly understand. True wisdom is not just learning, it is applying, living, and sharing it with others." At that moment, Koji understood. He had spent his journey collecting wisdom. But now, he needed to put it into practice and share it with those around him. Koji returned to his monastery, forever changed. No longer did he seek wisdom in solitude, instead. He listened to the stories of others, taught what he had learned, and remained open to new lessons every day. When a young monk came to him, asking where to find wisdom, Koji smiled and said, "Wisdom is not in one place, nor in one person. It is in the voices of those who have walked before us. Seek their guidance, listen deeply, and you will find your own path." And so, the story of Koji spread far and wide, reminding all who heard it that wisdom is not a solitary pursuit, but a shared journey of learning and growth.